Now that you have learned about manifests and modules, you are ready to move on to one of the most common actions for apps, calling an API. Forge makes it easy to authenticate and call Atlassian product APIs. It also lets you call APIs outside of Atlassian. Let's break down the components that make up an API call. 4 things are included: scopes, an authentication method, an endpoint URL, and an operation. Scopes tell the API service which data and actions your app wants to access. Following the principle of least privilege, best practice is to only ask for the minimum level of access your app needs. Scopes are listed in the manifest.yaml file. Common scope actions include things like read, write, and delete. Atlassian API scopes also include product and type of data. Authentication is like a username and password for an API, but the handshake is a bit more complicated. For Atlassian product APIs, Forge uses OAuth 2.0 and includes a feature called Managed Auth. This automatically authenticates your app against supported Atlassian product APIs like Jira, JSM, Confluence, and Compass. The endpoint URL indicates which API response you want to access. For example, this endpoint accesses Jira issue comments. Forge builds this URL for you automatically, combining it with the base URL to form a complete request. Finally, you have the operation you want to take: get to retrieve data, post to create data, put to update data, and delete to delete data. Forge gives you methods to simplify all these operations, which you will see in a moment. Now, here's what you need to call an Atlassian API in Forge. First, install the product fetch API. This is an API client library that helps with authentication and Atlassian product API requests. You provide the request URL and authentication headers for the API service you want to call. In your JavaScript file, import the package. In your manifest file, update your scopes. You can now build the API request in your JavaScript file. You can also make API calls to non-Atlassian products and services with fetch API. This time you will import the fetch method instead of route. Then you can build your request. Forge also includes a set of specialized APIs. These include a privacy API for complying with GDPR user privacy regulations, and an authorize API for checking the current app user's permissions. Another notable API is the Forge Storage API, which allows you to store data in Forge's database. You can also learn more about calling external APIs that use OAuth 2.0. Forge's external authentication features are designed to simplify these types of integrations. The Forge API utility simplifies how you authenticate and build API requests, especially for Atlassian products. Subscribe to this channel for more helpful tips.